Yes, you guys, welcome back. I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV, and in today's News Daily video, we have a big story to break down, discuss, and to speak about. Now, after that disappointing defeat to Arsenal in the Cup final, well, things kind of felt like this was a final straw for Frank Lampard. After the game in the post-match interview, Lampard gave some very cryptic critiques about the team performance.
I think we just got to be brutally honest, we want our best, they win the game.
So what happened with the performance? I mean, you came flying out of the blocks.
It's only our own responsibility on the pitch because we controlled 10 minutes, scored a goal, a couple of other little half chances, moved the ball, counter press was good, and then we decided that we wanted to make it like a slow afternoon stroll. Play five-a-side, 5 yards to you, 5 yards back to me. Let's stop switching the play, let's stop playing through the lines. And we just invited it. We invited it in a 1 minute spell, and the whole game changed on that.
And when you analyse and break down those critiques, it does highlight a few certain individuals in this team. In today's News Daily video, it seems like Lampard has had enough, and it seems like the club are planning a massive clear out where up to 10 players could be made available in this window. Things are starting to heat up, you guys. Big changes are gonna come for next season. And in today's News Daily video, I'm gonna break down the stories. I'm gonna give you guys some more context, and I'm gonna analyze every single one of the 10 possible candidates that could be sold for the start of the next season, you guys. So without wasting any more time, let me get the plugs out of the way first. If you like today's video, then smash that like button. I'm going to be more ambitious now. I'm going to go for 4,000 likes for today's video. And of course, if you're already planning on making a purchase for the new away kit, the new home kit, if you use my affiliate links below in the description, you get access to my 10% discount code NINI10. What you guys waiting for? I'm here to hook you guys up. And now the plugs are out the way, let's get straight into things and let's break down the story. Now for today's video, I'm going to reference articles coming from Matt Law, The Times, The Guardian, The Independent, so many of these publications because they all talk about the same story. This season, we've conceded 54 goals and we've dropped 18 points from winning positions. Now, I've made constant comparisons with Liverpool and Man City, as has Frank Lampard, and as Lampard has mentioned time and time again throughout the season. When you look at the transformation that Liverpool made, they invested heavily in a goalkeeper, a defender, and pacey fullbacks out wide to help transform their back four. These were the same tactics used by Man City as well. Their backline was pretty old. Their fullbacks in Zabaleta and Sanya, they were old. They didn't have the physicality or the pace to really play the system that Pep wanted. From then on, Man City invested heavily in a brand new backline and a new goalkeeper as well. This now takes us back to Frank Lampard, and I'm going to clarify this for you guys. The positions we're now targeting after we sign Havertz is going to be a left back, defender, DM, and goalkeeper. This isn't new news. I've said this before, and as the articles are stating and reporting today, and of course if you use common sense as well, to fund these new signings for these positions, we have to sell players in the squad first. Now the reports from The Times, The Independent, and Matt Law have all said the same things. Up to 10 players' futures could be in doubt by the time the next season comes. These 10 players are Kepa, Rudiger, Zuma, Christensen, Emerson, Alonso, Jorginho, Kante, Bakayoko, Michy Batshuayi, and of course, let's not forget your Drinkwaters and your Zappacosta's as well. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, wow, these many players, and how can we even think about selling guys like your Zumas, your Kantes? You have arguments for Rudigers, Christensens, etc, etc. I'm here to break things down for you guys because each player potentially made available in this window, they aren't seen on the same level. Some players on this list are absolutely guaranteed surplus requirements, and other players' sales on this list are purely circumstantial. Now from this point out, I'm going to break down each and every single one of these players that could be made available in this window. Starting with the players' surplus requirements, as you guys can see on screen beside me. These players include Michy Batshuayi, Kepa, Emerson, Zappacosta, Jorginho, Bakayoko, and Ross Barkley. Now I'm going to break down each and every single one of these surplus requirement players. Starting with Ross Barkley, with the abundance of number 8 midfield players we have in the club right now. Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, Academy grads too, and with the soon-to-come signing of Kai Havertz, from a business point of view, it would make absolutely no sense to keep Ross Barkley here at this club on his current wages, especially when Ross Barkley can command a great amount of money that we can use to reinvest in other new signings. Moving on to Bakayoko, there is strong interest from Paris Saint-Germain and AC Milan. They've shown the most interest to sign Bakker, but at this point in time, our price valuation is slowing down any progression to sell Bakayoko. Bakker is already on high wages right now, so it feels like the club would have to take a small loss for a sale to go through. Bakker's form has picked up a lot more, and I'm sure he'll find a very good club to sign for. Now, moving on to Jorginho, he's a player that Lampard inherited from a completely different style of football. Now, due to these constant injuries in midfield throughout the season, Lampard has had to rely on Jorginho more often than he originally planned to. He's been forced to accommodate Jorginho using different formations to get the best out of the player, because in modern day football, there's a strong importance in the midfield. Midfield tends to win you games, but similar to Bakayoko, the club want a high fee to allow Jorginho to be sold. Now, when you consider from a purely accounting cost, then technically Jorginho could be sold for between 35 million to 40 million pounds. However, this price valuation is the main stumbling block, and for me, this could be a bigger headache for us in the future to keep him, as from next season he won't play as much, and if he isn't playing as much, his valuation is going to plummet even more. A big decision has to be made. Now, moving on to Emerson, and he's a player that just hasn't impressed Lampard as much as Lampard hoped for. Now, it seems to be a mentality issue, because Emerson does have the technical qualities, however, he hasn't consistently shown them, and ever since he's recovered from his injury, he just hasn't been the same player. Now, moving on to Michy Batshuayi, and as I've hinted at in previous videos before throughout the season, he's really suffered mentally throughout the season. Now, there's things I've heard about Michy that I, of course, won't be disclosing at all, out of respect for the player too, and because I'm just not that guy who does the gossip whatsoever. For his sake, let's hope he gets back to his best form, finding a new club that suits how he plays. Moving on to Zappacosta, and he's a player that just isn't needed whatsoever. And to end things with Kepa Arrizabalaga. Kepa is going to be one of the most complicated players to sell in this window. For me, we have to think outside the box. We either accept a big L, take a huge loss on the sale, or we pray for some divine intervention of some sort where we hope another club takes a risk to try and sign Kepa from us. Now, if Kepa can be sold, this dramatically boosts our chances of signing a ter Stegen or a Jan Oblak. These are super ambitious signings, but as Frank Lampard has stressed before, using Alisson and Ederson from City and Liverpool as examples so many times throughout the season, signings like this dramatically boost your chances to win silverware. But at the same time, the club are also accepting that Kepa could also remain here for another season, and if this was the case, there are so many great keepers available in the market right now for under 35 million. I'm looking at players like your Onanas, Strakoschas, Rajkovic's, Magnons, and Musso and Henderson's as well. These are all fantastic options that could definitely improve this team. Now, these were the players deemed surplus requirements. This now takes us forward to the players that could be sold based on purely circumstantial matters. Now we start with Rudiger, and his presence would help Werner and Kai acclimatise even more. Now, potentially if ter Stegen became a certainty, his popularity already in the team would be a great benefit for the team next season from a purely team morale perspective. Now, arguments could be made that Rudiger already suffered a big injury before the season started. He never had a pre-season, and he's been playing through discomfort throughout the season. This would naturally take a toll on the player's form. Arguments could also be made that many big injuries suffered throughout his career already are starting to take a toll on Rudiger's physicality. His sale would be purely circumstantial. He could stay, but he could also leave if he generated the most amount of money. We now move on to Kurt Zouma, again another circumstantial sale. Zouma and his team may decide a move could be best for him due to the constant uncertainty around his future at this club. Now, rumours are suggesting that Paris Saint-Germain and Italian clubs are showing interest, even though Zouma has been our best pure defender this season. However, from a purely business point of view, Zouma has many years left on his contract, and if he commanded the most amount of money and if the player himself wanted to move on, the club could decide to make that sacrifice for the betterment of the rest of the team. Moving on to Andreas Christensen. Now, Christensen is a player that is still highly regarded by your Lampards and the coaching staff at this club. However, one issue with Christensen is his lack of physicality. I've been trying to get more context and information surrounding him, but unfortunately at the time of making this video, I couldn't find any substantial information. For my own personal subjective theories, I'm looking at Christensen and I'm thinking, yes, he has piled on a bit of upper body mass, however, he isn't as strong as he should be. throughout the season. I personally believe that he's suffered quite a lot due to Premier League strikers just literally treating this guy like a chewing toy, and due to referees naturally not really protecting defenders. Could Christensen be sacrificed because the club feel that maybe from a physical point of view he won't ever be that defender? Time will tell you guys. Right now, the defender that commands the most amount of money could be potentially available for a sale. We now move on to N'Golo Kante. His sale would be a massive loss. From what I've heard, Kante's sale would only depend on circumstances again. There's a belief from Lampard that with more time to rest, Kante could potentially get back to his physical best. And of course, with the addition of another defensive midfield player for next season, this could dramatically reduce the workload placed on N'Golo Kante. Now you guys, in the card above, I did a massive breakdown just discussing how Kante has suffered ever since Sarri's been rushing him back from injury. I suggest you guys watch that. It's one of the best videos I've produced on this channel. But disregarding sentimentality, from a purely cold business point of view, Kante out of any player made available for sale would generate the most amount of money. Now, we could be pressured to sell Kante depending on whether we struggle to offload other players in the team, and of course it also depends on the offers received for Kante as well. My issue is though, if you're planning to build a team ready to win things domestically and internationally, is selling Kante the best thing to do? Now to end things with Marcos Alonso. It seems like Lampard has really favoured Alonso over Emerson throughout the season, and with Emerson's sale being more likely at this point in time. Alonso could be kept for another season or potentially sold in January if another left back is signed, which looks like an absolute certainty. From a business point of view, keeping Alonso for potentially half a season or another season could also work out in our favour when it comes to selling him in the future. Alonso still has a decent reputation, and he would still get decent game time for next season, keeping his valuation moderately high. Of course, age does work against him. He's approaching 30 years old, and his contract is currently between 120 and 150k per week. This would naturally make his sale a lot harder due to how expensive Alonso would be, so circumstances again would dictate whether he's sold in this window. And there you have it, you guys. Yes, I know it's a slightly longer video, but you guys know that I love to really break down the context, give you guys the information, get into detail. You guys know that's what I'm about. But to end with today's video, you guys, I'm gonna pose this question for you. Make sure you guys comment below. If you could run our transfer activity for this window, what players would you sell? And there you have it, you guys. That was the video for today. There might be another video coming out later today. No promises just yet. We'll see what happens. But on that note, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.